And we're back. Guys, I fixed the problem. Since I
have the floor, I like to talk to everyone about.
I fixed the problem, everybody. The problem was there was not enough nav on screen, and yeah, I'm not having issues. I think my computer is just having issues. I've been doing some networking around the house, and Templar, I can't seem to find you. Can you? Here, I'm gonna boot you. Join back up on the call. Now the Templar's gone. We can finally talk crap about him.
Blocker J, Naviception.
Naviception. I love that. Yeah.
That is great. That is great.
Yeah, anyway.
Navillus. Okay.
We're back. Blind Breacher in the chat. Hello. We're having a few technical difficulties because live internet is so much fun. Guest is in green room, huh? Well, watch this. I'm going to pull the guest out of the green room and put him right here. Maybe not.
It's all good. We're all having fun.
Are we?
We're talking.
I don't necessarily know. I don't necessarily know that I'm having any fun right now.
I think Chad is having fun. Maybe. And so I do want a grilled cheese sandwich now. I have to say that. I do.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm trying to find how I can assign Templar back. There he is, right there. Hello, Templar. You're back. Welcome.
We're back. Okay, no more spoilers, I guess then.
Yeah. That's just what's gonna happen.
Guess doesn't end particularly well.
No. Okay.
Yes.
So spoilers are done. Didn't know Twitch had spoiler detection and prevention feature. Says Gwen Clark in the chat. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we're back. So all that to say, the other main thing that I've been playing. Bold Contrast in the chat. Hello, everybody joining into the mockery of a stream that's going on. The other thing that I've been playing highly is Vampire Survivors. I am currently now 121 out of 140 achievements on Steam, and I am now replaying it on my phone because I don't know what it is about that game except that it touches a very primal part of my psyche that makes me just want to murder evil things. And so now I'm like, I'm legitimately unlocking all of the little secrets. It's going to be a game that I 100% on Steam. So we'll get there. All that to say, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Go ahead.
I was to say, have you played Hades?
Oh yeah. Hades.
Okay, yeah, this is.
It's touching. Hades is a little different because Hades was a little harder. This is essentially, there are a couple parts where Vampire Survivors gets really hard. Game Night in the chat. Hello, thanks for joining us on the Roundtable.
Hello.
But yeah, my love for murdering demons has never been higher. Templar, what about you? What have you been watching, playing, consuming, all that?
A few things. Not a lot on the gaming front. A little bit. I started playing a bit of TFT recently. I've been wanting to stream again, and it's all right. I've been streaming again a little bit, and it's a good kind of chill game. I can talk to people in the chat and just kind of hang out and play. So I've been having fun with it. Aki and fam, what's going on? Yeah, so I've been playing a little bit of that. Not a ton else on the gaming front. In terms of reading, I'm with Nav. I'm still reading the Dresden Files. I believe I'm on book 10 now. But like, they're pretty quick reads, and I've been going through them at a good rate. At this point, they're just easy reads. You can just kind of blast through it and have a good time with it. They're a lot of fun, and they're not anything too serious. So I've definitely still been enjoying them.
Do you know he has another book series he just started?
I did hear that, yeah. I mean, I'll probably finish this one and then see. Yeah, I saw something about it when I looked up the Dresden Files online. I think I saw something about his new one. But I really like the Dresden Files a lot. So if anyone hasn't checked them out, if you're looking for something light to read, sort of a light fantasy, I would definitely check it out. They're a lot of fun and a good time. Beyond that, in terms of what I've been watching, I don't remember if I said this last week. I don't think so. I watched the first season of of Shadow and Bone on Netflix.
Oh, is it good?
It's okay. Yeah. Like, it didn't change my perspective on the world or anything, but it was fun. Yeah.
Interesting.
I like the characters. Maybe I'm underselling it. I had fun with it. I think the world is cool. I think like the premise is kind of an interesting take on magic. It's sort of a different type of magic system than I've really seen much before.
Yeah.
So I kind, although I mean it was sort of Avatar, like the Last Airbender, I guess adjacent with some of the like element stuff. But I mean that obviously predates Avatar.
Yeah.
But that's always my touch point for like element based magic use. But it was good. I like I think the characters are probably the strength of it. Like the whole kind of cast of characters is a lot of fun, very different. You kind of buy into their different motivations. So I guess they're working on season 2. I think it might maybe even is coming out this year. So I'll definitely check it out. So yeah.
One thing I want to circle back real quick. First off, Pastor Savage with the tier 1 sub. Thank you again, Pastor Savage. Aki and Fam in the chat. Blind Preacher talking about Dresden Files. One thing I forgot to mention, and maybe this is not going to be in our must-see list, but I started watching with my son and my daughter. I had on my Plex server, I was just kind of going through some of the old things. It was like, oh, Scott Pilgrim's on here. And so we started watching Scott Pilgrim. Holy jeez. That movie, I forgot how good that movie actually is.
That is a really fun movie to watch.
Yeah, and my daughter, not so much. She's 16. She could care less about video games. But my son, he's 13. And I looked over at him on the couch, and his face was this. His face was just why are all these people punching in midair? It was great.
It's a good movie. I mean, it's too bad because that movie bombed really bad in the theaters.
Yep.
I think if it came out today, it would probably do a lot better.
Agreed.
I think that's sort of a...
If they made a second one, it would do well.
Yeah,
it would do well. It's popular enough now, like Scott Pilgrim is like.
And the video game took hold and all that.
So Blind Breacher, they did make a Dresden Files TV show. Actually, there was one season of it in I think it's from like 2007. It's on the Roku streaming thing. That's where I found it, at least anyway. It's not great. There's a reason it only had one season. It sort of has a sort of vibe of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or maybe Supernatural, but not as good as either of those. And I don't think it really fits with the source material. And they made a lot of changes, which you might expect, but I think not particularly good ones.
Is it Harry's like staff or something, like a hockey stick or something he carries around? Was it like I saw? Yeah, it's like really stupid. Like...
In the book, he just has a staff, and then in the show, they made it a hockey stick, but he never really uses it. He barely does magic at all in the show, or at least anything significant. It's very weird. It's a show I would actually love. I think there's be a ton of potential to have a cool TV show based on it, or even like an animated show. I think could be really cool in that world.
Ooh, that would be good.
It might even be more suited to animation than anything else. But I think it'd be great. But yeah, unfortunately, the show as it stands was not very good.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, as a bit of a throwback, I have there was a deal a little while ago for Crave, which is the streaming service in Canada that has HBO Max. So I have that, and I started watching The Wire as a bit of a throwback. And I had seen the first couple seasons ages ago, but I barely remembered them. And so I've been kind of burning through it, although with 1 hour episodes each, it does take a little while.
Yeah.
So I started season 3 today, and I mean, I'm loving it. Obviously, it's somewhat dated. It's from like early 2002, 2003 time. Like in the first season, some of them are still using pagers and stuff. So it's, it certainly has been dated, but in terms of like a crime show that shows you things from multiple perspectives, it's pretty hard to beat. I mean, there's a reason it's been kind of in that conversation, or kind of was the answer for a long time when people would talk about the best shows, best television shows ever, probably before Breaking Bad and like that sort of thing. I'm pretty sure it was The Wire, and there's a reason for it.
Yep.
So
hey man, nobody mess with Omar.
I've been watching that.
Omar, don't get messed with.
Man, Omar's the best, man.
Yeah, he
come
really
at the king,
is.
you best not miss.
Good.
It's great. So that's about everything. So without any further ado, and hopefully without any spoilers, we will move on
we
to
don't
our
want to get
list
shut down again.
No. So today we're getting about our must-see movies. So we each of us made top fives of our must-see movies. And we're going to be just going through them one at a time, going around and, chatting about each of them. Throw yours in the chat. What are the movies you consider to be must see? The movies kind of everyone should check out, or whatever your criteria is for it. And we'll kind of get into that in a minute here. And many people in the community already shared theirs, and we're going to talk about some of the community suggestions after we go through our lists. But if you haven't, put that in Discord in the Roundtable discussion channel. Put it in here. What are your must see movies? What are the movies you think everyone should check out at least once in their life? So without further ado, we'll jump into that. So Chino, I'm going to go to you on this. And before you jump into your number 5, I'd like to get just a little bit of perspective on what was your criteria for this. How did you go about building your list? What came to mind when you thought of like must see movies?
So I didn't necessarily go with my favorite movies, although a couple of them on here are like my top 10. If I had to number a list, they'd be in my top 10. I went with movies that defined eras of movies and defined genres. Now, that seems very pretentious, and you'll understand what I mean in a second. It seems very like, oh, I'm a film critic. But in all reality, like, every one of these sits in, well, two of them kind of sit in the same vein, but they have like a different era and a different genre that they sit in. So like my number 5 is Spinal Tap. Now,
mockumentary.
It's the mockumentary, but like it was one of the first of all, I'm a musician, and so it speaks to the very core of me. It's one of like the most it's got to be one of the most quotable movies out there for a musician. The amount of times that you hear these ones go to 11, or the amount of times that you talk about drummers exploding as a musician, or welcome, Rock on Cleveland, something like that. But it defined the mockumentary, because before that there was some, but there wasn't really a whole lot that got popular, and sort of that Christopher Guest style. Because he went from that to Best in Show, and then kind of the entire mockumentary thing has. Have you guys seen Documentary Now yet? The Netflix show. It's the Lonely Island guys, and they essentially make. No, it's not Lonely Island. Yeah, no, it's partially like Andy Samberg, and then there's a couple like Fred Armisen is in some of them, and they basically gather all their friends, and each episode is a mockumentary of a documentary. They spoof documentaries that are being made, but all of that happened because of This Is Spinal Tap. Some of the references are a little bit dated, but like the fact that they're just going ham on late 70s, early 80s hair metal, and like they have 2 bass players, and like it's some of the dumbest but funniest stuff out there. So number 5 for me, This Is Spinal Tap.
It's a cool choice. I've never seen it. I'm not musically inclined. I do know this goes to 11. I mean, I feel like that has sort of become ubiquitous.
Yeah.
But I've never checked that one out. Have you seen This Is Spinal Tap now?
No, I haven't. I want to now. It sounds interesting. Yeah, so
I mean, I've heard great things about it. Okay, so good one.
No.
Nav, so for you then, when you were making your top 5 list, what was your thought process? What did you think of when you thought of must-see films? And what is your number 5?
My films, probably 4 of my films. Okay, I said all 5, but I did change one. That is one that everyone knows, because I'm like I struggled. I have like 4 or 5 honorable mentions, but I'm just not. But this one I was like going back and forth. But I have to put this one. But my thing is, I picked classics, basically. That was my classics you have to see, and these are from 1986 or before that, basically.
Wow.
Basically.
Okay.
Yes.
I tended to skew newer, so this actually should give us a pretty good kind of breadth in terms of time. So that's good.
because I could say like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or stuff like that that are like Star. These are all ones like you should see these. Okay, like if you like gaming culture, all that stuff. These are ones. But I'm trying to branch out, and these are all a different genre. So by 5, they're not the same genre. So just getting everyone a different mix. Anyway, one I grew up watching. It is actually a sci-fi. Number 5. Here we go. The Last Starfighter.
Ooh, good movie. Good movie.
1984.
Good
The
movie.
Last Starfighter. Yes. Okay, that's a cult classic. Okay, it's not the greatest, but it's like if you like want to see arcade gaming and all that stuff. Like, basically, here's a synopsis right here. It's a high schooler. I'm going to read just a synopsis. High schooler Alex Rogan conquers the Starfighter video game, only to find out it was just a test and is transported to another planet. He has been recruited to join a team of the best starfighters to defend the world from an attack.
I love it.
So it is like, it's just like a crazy thing. But if you like Tron, like the whole like cheesy type of sci-fi, it's hard to, when you watch this and watch Tron or even Blade Runner, and then you watch Star Wars, you start seeing how Steven Spielberg was a genius with animation and other special effects and stuff, because these don't hold, like Star Wars is like way better. But it's enjoyable if you just want to watch like a classic sci-fi, cheesy, but like good story. There you go. The Last Starfighter, 1984.
That's a fun pick. Yeah. I mean, I have a feeling maybe our lists are going to end up being on the pretentious side, and I think Nav might end up with the people's list. I think Nav's is maybe going to be like
the people's champ. Yeah,
he's going to be the people's champ after all of this, because like that is not a movie I would have considered. Nope. I remember watching it. I loved that movie when I was younger. I had so much fun with it, but it's not a movie I would have thought of for a must-see. But it is very fun. I mean, you ain't wrong, Nav. It's a very fun, of its time sci-fi movie.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm like, it was in my arm. I'm like, no, I have to include this. I enjoyed this movie so much. And if you like video gaming, and like, this is just like, this is harking back to like the early days of gaming, basically. And so you got, it's like, it's just, you got to go for it.
Nice. I'm about it. That's awesome. That's a cool pick. So for me, my approach was, I guess, we all ended up sort of somewhat being on the same page in terms of how we went about it. Is I tried to pick films that I thought were sort of representative of various genres. And they're not necessarily, again, like as Chino sort of said, they're not necessarily the best films of all time, although all of the ones I chose, I believe, are very, very good. But I tried to pick from each genre something that I thought was representative, would give you a good sort of entry point into that genre if you weren't that aware of it, and sort of the best representation of it. So number 5, I have Arrival.
Ooh.
The 2016 sci-fi, sort of a quiet sci-fi film about aliens coming to Earth with Amy Adams, and speaking of our boy Jeremy Renner.
Yeah.
In this. And I think as far as, I don't know what the exact genre would be, because it's not like action sci-fi, but as sort of like a quiet, thoughtful sci-fi film goes, I don't think you can do much better than Arrival. I think it's a beautifully shot movie. I think the premise, for those who don't know, is aliens come to Earth, they show up in different places, and then it follows Amy Adams' character, who's a linguist, basically trying to figure out a way to communicate with them. And I won't say any more than that, because it's new enough that maybe you haven't seen it. I highly recommend you check it out. It's not explosions and loud and like a lot of things happening. It's quiet. It's kind of reflective. But I think it's just a really beautiful movie in a lot of ways. And I kind of went in expecting nothing. And this is the movie that really sort of turned me on to Denis Villeneuve as a filmmaker. I mean, I debated going with Dune from, what was that? I guess it was 2021, right, that Dune came out?
Yeah.
So I debated going with Dune, but Arrival, I think, is fantastic. So
hold on.
I highly recommend...
Stream is dying again. Hold on.
Oh, come on.
I don't think this is me, guys.
I'll check.
It could be on the Twitch. It could be on the... It could be on the Twitch side of things.
Because I still have you guys, right? Yeah, you're still here.
Yeah, My internet's good. I just did a speed test. My internet's good.
I think it's okay now. I think it. Oh, it might be on the Twitch side of things. I think we might be good. Floated close. I floated close to that spoiler line with Arrival. Did I? I mean, that's just the basic premise of the film.
Yeah.
I don't think I covered anything that isn't just like, if you had seen the trailer, you would probably know more than I just described.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Arrival. I think in terms of modern science fiction, amazing. And Denis Villeneuve did a great job with Blade Runner 2049 after that, and Dune. But Arrival really stands out to me as something kind of special. So, yeah, number 5 for me is Arrival.
See you, Jenny. We will put our lists in Discord after we reveal them, and then you guys can lambast them all you want.
Yep. So, Chino, back around to you.
Yeah.
My friend, what's your number 4?
So, number 4 defines for me a psychological thriller. It's older, so this is like a 1973, 1974 type movie. It's called Apocalypse Now. And
sure.
So it's kind of like it's a war movie, but it's not really a war movie, and it's actually based on The Heart of Darkness, and an old book that was all about, guys going to the River Congo and kind of losing their mind, Captain Kurtz and all this other stuff. Marlon Brando's amazing. The entire... I remember watching Apocalypse Now after reading The Heart of Darkness. I was like in high school, and I was fascinated by The Heart of Darkness and just kind of the finding yourself thing that happened there. And then I watched Apocalypse Now, and I'm getting chills thinking about the first time I see when they reveal Marlon Brando just sitting there in this island, and he's kind of like got a little dirt on his face, and he's got this weird smile. Like, he's such a good actor, and he captures that creepy, like, I'm gonna eat your flesh feeling. And I mean, there have been psychological thrillers since the 1910s and 1920s, so this isn't one of the first ones, but it for me, it defined that creepy genre, because like shortly after that, they started writing Silence of the Lambs, and that kind of started coming to the fore. And like Silence of the Lambs is also one of those ones that really kind of gets under your skin. And then I don't know, like it does not have a happy ending. That's no spoiler. Hopefully, Twitch don't shut us down. But it's also, I don't know. Go and watch it. It's a fascinating movie. Have you guys seen Apocalypse Now?
That I haven't actually either. That one's on a list. Like, that one's on my list. I do want to check that one out at some point, but I just haven't kind of got around to watching it. But I'm aware of the sort of reputation of it.
Yeah, same.
It's
and Martin Sheen apparently like had a heart attack. Like, the filming of that movie apparently was brutal.
Yep.
Like, such that Martin Sheen actually had a heart attack during the filming of the movie. So that's quite something.
Yep. Oh, wow. And I mean, it was Harrison Ford. It was like before. It was before
Harrison Ford is in that?
Yeah. He was like, so he was Han Solo in 77. That movie was released in like 78, 79, right around there. And so he was in it. He had like a small kind of bit part. He didn't really have a big thing.
Oh, okay.
But Larry Fishburne was in it. Oh my gosh, just so good. And then Dennis Hopper, of course, just like
Dennis Hopper.
I mean, it's just an all-star cast. In like, one of the iconic images is there's a Huey that's like coming in to this like weird party that's happening, and in the middle of this war, in the middle of kind of like all of this stuff, there's like a party happening at this army base, and it's like this weird debauchery just surrounded in a jungle, and it's like this weird metaphor that just I keep with me a lot and think about a lot, because like, man, a lot of times there's just nonsense happening around us, and we're just playing fiddles on the Titanic as it's going down. We're watching Rome burn and partying along with the barbarians type thing. So anyway, it's a deep thinker for me. Go watch Apocalypse Now, my number 4.
Wow, okay. So number 4 on Nav's list is Flubber, to follow up that another serious deep thinking movie.
Not quite. Actually, I think you'll approve
The Nutty
this
Professor.
One. Okay.
What you got?
Mine is an action movie. 1986, Top Gun. there you go. The original.
Sure, hey.
I'm like, classic. That has to be there. Like, if someone said, hey, you need to watch an action movie, I'm like...
Man, you really are the people's champ, aren't you?
Top Gun. It was a switch between this and Die Hard for my number 4. I'm going to let you know, because Die Hard is good, too. Are you going to put the Transformers on here, too? Or the G.I. Joe movies? I couldn't find it somewhere on here, too? No. The top three... The top three... They get even older than this. This is This is like the newest movie on the list. Everything else is in the 70s or below.
Okay.
And everything. So, but anyway, Top Gun. You need to say more? Go watch it. Val Kilmer, Tom Cruise. This all started it. It's just one of the coolest things about this. This was like one of the first movies. Fun fact: one of the first movies that the Air Force actually used like actual filming of their planes. Like during the movie, like some of the things was actually fighter pilots and filming the stuff. So that was actually like legit, like in use jets basically, and they used this in the movie. So it's actually pretty interesting. It was like one of the first movies that did that.
That's cool.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, the recruitment for the Navy went up drastically after that film came out. So it was certainly they made a good decision in terms of allowing that stuff to happen. Yeah, Top Gun's a cool choice. Classic film. I mean, very fun, 80s. I mean, it's hard to say the movie that made Tom Cruise, but I mean, for me, I feel like that's one of those early ones that's like, this is a Tom Cruise movie.
Yep.
Like,
that put him on the map. I think Top Gun really just put him on the map, just as like premier actor. One
of them, yeah, for sure. That's a cool choice. Yeah, Top Gun I like. Obviously, Maverick came out last year. It was great. Okay, so number me.
Wow,
number me. For me. Number 4 for me is Train to Busan. So this is, people might not all be big fans of the zombie movie genre, but to me, this is sort of, and there are other cool choices here, but to me, it's kind of one of the best, if not the best representation of the zombie movie genre, Train to Busan. And it's a Korean film for those who don't know. Just watch it with subtitles. It's great. It's fantastic. It will not take away your enjoyment of the movie. It's so well acted. It's well done. The emotions of it are just exceptional. Like I said, performances are great. And honestly, I feel like Koreans do zombie movies better than anyone else. I don't know why. They seem to love them. They seem to make a ton of them, and they do a great job of it.
Have you seen One Cut?
I have not.
Okay, that is a Korean zombie movie, but they filmed it all in one cut, like one taking.
Really?
Oh,
and
sure.
So, yes, yeah, it's like pretty popular. Like how they did it. It's like someone was doing like filming with like a GoPro or whatever, and then a zombie apocalypse breaks out, and that's like the basis of it. So these people were filming a zombie movie, and then actually it became like an actual zombie. So it's like one of those stupid like story, but they say it's really good.
Kind of meta sort of things. That's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't have a ton to say about it. I mean, I don't want to give anything away, but if you're into zombie movies, I know that's not everyone's thing, but it's a fun movie at times. It's a serious movie at times. It's kind of sad. It can be heartwarming. To me, it kind of just covers the whole gamut of what you would maybe want or expect from a zombie film. And if you maybe like them, but you haven't checked it out, I recommend it. Even if you're unsure, I'd say give it a shot. Train to Busan, I think, is really, really fantastic. And a kind of other contender here would maybe have been 28 Days Later as an alternative sort of choice that I think is also excellent. But I prefer Train to Busan. So, have you guys seen Train to Busan, or you have any thoughts on it?
I have seen the first 20 minutes of it, and that's about it. I always keep. It's like Apocalypse Now is for you. Like, it's on a list, and it's like, dang, I need to go watch that. And then every time I'm gonna go watch something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I haven't seen
check it out.
But I've heard of it.
I think it's on Netflix. I feel like it's on Netflix, so
it is.
Check it out. So, all right, what's up, Gino? Number 3.
All right, this is it's Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And the reason Monty Python and the Holy Grail is on there is because, it defines comedy, but like,
Okay.
I was hoping you said like your movies were a little earlier, and I was like, crap, he probably put it on there. I
came close.
My number 3 in here was actually going to be a rom-com, so I'm glad you didn't say anything because I was going to swap it out for a rom-com, which we can talk about that in a minute. But Monty Python is, there's not a whole lot that you can say about it. It's kind of in the vein of this is Spinal Tap, but it's just that weird British humor, again, insanely quotable. I could probably sit down and watch the whole movie and quote the whole movie. Just even the airspeed velocity of an African or of a swallow. What do you mean, African or North American? Well, I don't know. And then everybody goes like, it's just that type of stuff. I don't know. You guys have seen Monty Python, I'm assuming.
Yes, I have seen that one.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it is what it is.
It's just a mere flesh wound.
I mean, everything about it is just. There it is.
Yes.
Riding on the horses, and they've got the
with the coconuts. And brave Sir Robin ran away. I did not.
Oh my goodness.
No, I mean it's classic sort of. I guess would you call that like parody humor? Like it's kind of its own. Its own thing.
It's its own thing, but it's also kind of. It seems like a variety show. That I bite your legs off. It says PJ in the chat. It's like a parody show or a parody, a variety show brought onto the big screen, and so it's dope.
Yeah. No, cool choice. I saw it once. It's been a long time. It's not exactly my favorite type of thing, but I did appreciate it when I saw it. So
good.
The bunny that like is a mass murderer.
Yep.
The bunny that absolutely destroys everything
yep.
is like kind of fantastic.
Yes.
That's probably the bit that I like cracked up the most at in
yep.
that when I watched it from my memory.
That's so good.
Yep.
Is like the killer bunny. All right, now what you got? Number 3, man. Right. Hit us with another certified Nav classic here.
All right. This is a true classic right here. 1974. Here we go. We're going back to the 70s now. This one is The Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh.
The original. Yes. Okay. That is a classic. A murder mystery. Just to give a little heads up here is when I first moved to Tennessee. I'm from Florida, but I moved to Tennessee. I lived with my grandma my family did, for 3 to 4 months. And so I got acquainted with a lot of classic movies and everything else. And so that kind of like where my love of like classic movies, like my grandma's, collection of movies and stuff like that. So I would just go through them during the summer, my cousins and I. And so, but Murder on the Orient Express, it's just a great whodunit. Trying to figure it out. It's like one of those you just like pause it. It's like Knives Out. That's why I like Knives Out so much. It was very well done for like a murder mystery type thing. And this is the same way, but it's like classic. The dialogue is good. You have to listen. It's like one of those things. It's not a lot of action, just a lot of dialogue. Listen to, for like the clues and all that stuff. And but it's just a good movie. I enjoy it. I go back and forth between this one and Death on the Nile, and I can't remember. There's another one like it's at a resort. It's like Death at a resort. I can't remember like that. There's like 3 of these. I can't remember the last one's name, but it's all the same main actor being I'm trying to pronounce it, Hercule Poirot. It's like a French name or something like that. But anyway,
Hercule
the main
Poirot, yeah.
Yeah, Poirot. There we go, Poirot. I'm like, I never. Yeah. But yeah, so I like that. I like that it was fun because I watched it, I believe last year. Like my brothers and I got together because I didn't remember the whole plot of this one because it was so long. So we sat down and watched it, and it was like we're trying to figure out who did it and stuff like that. And then we watched, we kind of did that. So it was kind of fun just to get together with friends and just kind of like watch it and talk about it and see who was right at the end. And that's what I like doing. So anyway, that's my classic, Murder on the Orient Express. Go watch it, guys.
I don't even know that one. I know the new one. I know they remade it a while ago with what's his name? Yeah. Henry V guy who directed Thor, Kenneth Branagh.
Henry
don't watch the new one. Watch
guy.
I know he did a bunch of Shakespeare.
Yeah, watch the classic. You can watch it in color and everything. So, but you know, in HD now and everything else. But it's like, go do it. It's a good one.
Okay. That's neat. I'll check that one out. Bougie says, I could never do Holy Grail. The kids in my high school quoted the heck out of it. So much that it made me hate the movie without even seeing it. Fair enough. I could get that. The one I sort of feel similarly about is... Oh, what's the one with Uncle Rico?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes,
Napoleon Dynamite.
That was like...
And I did watch it, so it's not not that I didn't see it, but that was the one that I remember being quoted to death. That I saw and I just did not get it.
Yeah, people just going idiot.
Yeah, I just didn't get it, and I feel like that was a big thing for like years. That's a cool choice, Nat. That's a less populist sort of choice.
Yeah, I think you maybe. Probably are going to lose the swing vote in Florida if you keep up with that stuff there. That's not for the people.
Yeah.
So, well, it's a beloved classic. There you go. That's what I'm saying.
Sure. So number 3 for me, going back around to sci-fi, but a different type of sci-fi is Edge of Tomorrow.
Good.
As an action adventure sci-fi, going back with Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt. The movie's weird. They've been kind of strange about how they've named this movie, because it's like it's based on a manga, I believe, and they called it Edge of Tomorrow, and then they called it like Live Die Repeat, and then they kind of kept changing the name or altering the name. I don't really know why, but as far as I know, it's Edge of Tomorrow. It's a sci-fi sort of Groundhog Day-esque movie where time kind of keeps cycling around, so he keeps reliving the same day. And I won't say more than that, but it's about the Earth facing down an alien threat, and Tom Cruise kind of gets thrown into this situation he's not prepared for. Emily Blunt is kind of epic in it as like a female, kind of hardened female soldier. And yeah, it's so much fun. And I feel like it didn't really do well enough, didn't make a ton of money. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, maybe because Tom Cruise was making a few movies at that time, like Oblivion and stuff like that was kind of meh. That this one maybe slid under the radar. But to me, it's probably, at least thinking just off the top of my head, it's probably the best sci-fi action movie of the last like 10 years that I can think of.
That's high praise.
I mean, there might be something I'm blanking on that like you could put up there, but it's an excellent film. I think it's well paced. I think they manage the sort of time-ish, like time travel sort of aspects of it really well. The characters are great. The dialogue's good. The action's fantastic. I think in terms of like modern sci-fi action, it's hard to do much better. And unfortunately, it was not a movie that a ton of people saw. So if you haven't seen Edge of Tomorrow and you want like something fun that also might make you think a bit, and like it's just a great movie on top of being a fun movie, check it out.
That was a good pick.
You guys seen Edge of Tomorrow?
I totally forgot about that movie when you mentioned it. I'm like, I do remember that movie. I did like it a lot.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. I know it was a I don't think it was a manga, maybe. I don't know.
It might be a book or something.
It was a Japanese light novel, All You Need Is Kill, by Hiroshi Sakurazaka.
Nailed it.
I'm really good at this type of stuff, at Japanese.
Yeah. Well, I definitely recommend it. It's a great one. So very nice. All right. Getting into the big ones here. Number 2, Chino.
Okay. So I said that Apocalypse Now was a psychological thriller. This is equal parts psychological thriller, novel adaptation, violent. I don't know. It's Fight Club. I think. So I read the book first by Chuck Palahniuk, and it's a very dark book, like incredibly dark. All of Chuck Palahniuk's stuff is just, that's how he writes. It's very nihilistic, very like nothing matters except nothing. And then I watched the movie, and I was essentially obsessed with the movie for a little bit. Not because, I mean, Brad Pitt is great, Ed Norton Jr. is great, Meatloaf is great, like Helena Bonham Carter is great. Like everybody plays a good role in that movie. But even Jared Leto getting the crap kicked out of him, which, like, if we could kick the crap out of Jared Leto every single movie, please, let's do that, because I can't stand that dude. But but the way they adapted the book to the movie was it was different than the book, but it was also incredibly faithful. And obviously the Tyler Durden twist, like, if you read the book, you knew it was coming. And so I knew it was coming the entire movie. And when they finally did the big reveal, 20 minutes from the ending, 15 minutes from the ending, it made every, and like on rewatches, you can see how they hide it, how everything is sort of hidden in every little, basically every scene. There's something hidden about Tyler Durden. And then you start to notice little things in the background, and like they're on the subway and you see a picture, and like that picture is, it's like a reflection of Ed Norton, but then the camera turns and now it's a reflection of Brad Pitt, and it's like, whoa, like the way they do it is fascinating. Fight Club is one of those movies that, like, it's about fighting, but like it's not at all about fighting. It's definitely
it's really not.
It's a social commentary. It's a whole. Is that how you got into working out in the garage, Chino, training for Fight Club? Listen, the first rule of garage workouts is you don't talk about garage workouts, Bougie. You should know this. We're live on the internet right now, dude. Okay. I'm assuming you guys have seen Fight Club.
Not trying to get our stream crashed.
Yeah, exactly.
Again.
It's already crashed enough. Twitch has already shut us down twice today.
I have seen Fight Club. It's been a minute since I've seen it, but I've seen it. Yeah, it's a great movie. I mean, it's a lot to sort of, it's a lot to digest, I guess. It's a lot to take in when you check it out. But yeah, it's great, and it's sort of revered, I think, for a reason. Yeah. How about you, Nav? Have you seen in Fight Club? I assume.
I've seen it. It's been a while, but I remember it was very gritty, very, just like.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked it, but it was just like one of those things you just take in. You're like, you walk away. You're like, whew, okay. Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
What you got, Nav? People's Choice number 2.
All right, for number 2 is actually the oldest movie on my list.
Okay.
1932.
It's a silent film with Charlie Chaplin.
1944.
Metropolis, everyone.
Yes.
War of the Worlds.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, wait. War of the Worlds. Oh.
Sorry.
I did think about putting it in. War of the Worlds is a good movie. Okay, sorry. But this one right here is great. It's a comedy. All right, it's one of the best written, I believe, out of like I've watched. I have friends who like comedy movies, so whenever they come over, we watch comedy movies. So I've seen a lot of those. I think most of them are really stupid. Okay, it's hard to do like good comedy well, and without it being super sexual and everything else and stuff. And that's just like, it annoys me. Yep. But this is good slapstick comedy. It's this movie only takes place in 5 different scenes or 5 different rooms. Like after the first like scene, which is kind of like outside, the rest takes place in a house, either film in a kitchen, a living room, a basement, or outside, basically outside the house. So there's only like the rest of the movie. So it's basically strong writing by one of my favorite actors, Cary Grant. If you don't know who Cary Grant is, go look him up. Phenomenal actor from the 40s to the 60s right there. He had a good 20-year stint. And this one is Arsenic and Old Lace. And let me just give you the synopsis. Arsenic and Old Lace. It says, a Brooklyn writer, Cary Grant, he writes books on the futility of marriage, and he risks his reputation when he decides to get married. So he gets married, he writes books about why you shouldn't get married, and then he finally gets married. And then things get even more complicated when he learns on his wedding day that his beloved maiden aunts are habitual murderers. All right.
Okay.
And so, yes, it's. I know it sounds crazy, but like, watch it, and it's the funniest thing you'll watch. And I mean, the slapstick comedy in it, the writing, how they feed off each other and stuff like that. Like, for this, but I know it sounds weird, but once you watch it, it kind of understands. Like, you're like, how can this be a funny movie and everything else? But you just got to see it. Like, I like Cary Grant. this is one movie I did not see until after I got married. My wife introduced it to me. She's like, "Oh, if you like Cary Grant, you need to watch Arsenic and Lace." I'm like, "I've never watched it." She's like, "You need to sit down and watch it with me." And it was just funny. It was just funny. I mean, this is the premise of it, but like, just like how the scenes are going back and forth and the writing, and like he discovers about what his aunts are doing, and like, yeah. So it's really funny. The writing is really good. The dialogue is good. How everything flows in the movie is just like awesome for a comedy. So I know it sounds weird and everything, but I say go check it out. If you like good, like honestly good humor and stuff like that, it's just good. It's good writing. So
okay. I can't comment on that one. I really know nothing. I've never even heard of that movie. Yeah. So I mean, I know Cary Grant, but I have never heard of that film at all. So
you squarely just lost all of the populace. Just so you know, like you have now.
But
hey, yeah. You brought them in at first, and then
lost now. But
now it's.
Yeah, if you like comedy though, like it's one of the best comedy for like classic comedies though. Like honestly, it is. Like even it's really highly rated for its time and everything.
Okay,
I'm done with
sounds good. I'm gonna have to create a new list here and add that to it. And my wife likes older movies, so she might enjoy that one. So number 2 for me is Casino Royale.
Yeah, dude.
The newer one. Because there's an old Casino Royale, but the newer one with Daniel Craig, his first crack at being Bond. And it's a movie that, I mean, not only rebooted the Bond franchise, which you might be mixed on, you might be big on or not, whatever. But it also, I think, was very influential in terms of modern action movie filmmaking, in terms of its use of sort of levels of action, movement. I mean, it heavily used like parkour, which was a new thing at the time that has been implemented pretty heavily into a lot of action filmmaking now. I think, it sort of ties in with some of the Bourne movies in terms of the impact of some of the kind of camera work and action choreography. And I think it's an important and impactful movie for the kind of grittier action movies that we tend to have now. I mean, there are other films that also contributed to that, but I think that's one of the major ones. So I don't know what your feelings are, everyone's feelings are about James Bond. It's something I grew up with watching them all. But I think if you haven't seen it, just as a spy movie, as an action movie, as just a really well-made, well-done film, I think Casino Royale is an excellent one.
I agree. Bond is great. Yeah. I mean, I put great in air quotes, obviously. It's, what you're getting in a lot of them, but the Daniel Craig stuff really changed the paradigm of what a Bond movie was. It became less like girls, bikinis, guns, martinis, and it became more like it became more of a thriller and less of like a spy action. Yeah. And it I don't know. It's Daniel Craig's awesome. It's honestly, I think it's my favorite Bond movie with him.
Yeah, it is really good.
I think I prefer Skyfall probably, but you can't really start with Skyfall, so
no.
You'd have to start with Casino Royale. So
yeah,
yeah, you do.
Yeah, but I absolutely agree. Nice. All right, Chino, we made it. What you got, man?
I'm doing a drum roll on the microphone there. Sorry about that, guys. My number 1. It's my favorite movie of all time, but it's also the best war movie of all time. It is the best it still holds up. It was released in 1997. It still holds up even to this day. I watched it as recently as 6 months ago. And the opening scene, it's the second scene, really, but the opening battle scene lasts about 20 minutes, 18 to 20 minutes. The amount of shooting and production that went into it is insane. The entire story is one that just grips you. I still cry when a couple of the main characters die, because they die. Spoiler, people die in war movies. I still cry when one dude gets shot in the stomach and he bleeds out right in front of him. Like, I can see it happening in front of my eyes. I still get teary. I still get teary when Vin Diesel dies. Like, it's all of these things. And that movie, of course, is Saving Private Ryan. That is the best war movie that has ever been made, hands down. It is, and you can fight me on this. Like, I have watched a lot of war movies. And a lot of World War II movies in particular. I'm a huge World War II nerd. I've studied the war. Mm-hmm. I know a lot about World War II, and that movie holds not only pretty accurate to what happened in Normandy. It also the Allied invasion of Normandy. Sorry, but it actually humanizes the German side more than most American filmed war movies do. And mind you, Spielberg is Jewish by descent, and so he had a lot of ways that he could have just ripped the Nazi people to shreds, and he did, rightly so. But there are moments, even in that opening scene, or the opening battle scene, particularly at the very end. You know, they've cleared out all the pillboxes, they've cleared out all of the tank things, all of the tank obstacles, and there's two Allied soldiers approaching a bunker, and inside the bunker is a machine gun nest, and there's two German guys that come out with their hands up, and one of them just gets gunned down immediately because, you know, it's war, like that's what happens. With the second guy, he's like trying to surrender, and the guys are going, "What? I can't hear you, I can't hear you, I can't hear you." And then they gun him, and they're like mocking him, and then they gun him down, and there's this like, and then he says, "What's he saying? What's he saying?" And then one of the guys says, "Look, I watched for supper." And it's like that thing that sticks with me, and then they laugh, and then they take his Hitler Youth knife, and like the humanization that happens all throughout that movie is fantastic, even to the point of like the growing up of Corporal Upham, and he ends up like kind of saving a bridge at the end. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on Saving Private Ryan? I could wax poetic about this movie forever.
I love the film. I don't like the bookend. I think you cut the part with the guy in the cemetery at the beginning, and
it has to be there though. Like it has to just.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. I think you start on the boat on D-Day, and then that's it. You don't need it. It's like, I think it's like Spielberg in his later years, he's become like kind of an old man. Like, and I realize this movie's like older now, but I feel like it's sort of the beginnings of where he's now like, you get it, you get the message, you get what I'm trying to say, like, you get it, okay. And it's like, it's too much. Like, we got it, man. You don't need. You can cut out the bit at the beginning, or if you want to have the bit at the beginning, fine. But then, like, or just like fade into him, like have Damon turn into him, do the transformation, and then just have it end.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need this whole conversation with his wife, was I a good man? But like, we get it. We understand. Like, we don't. And it's not, I'm not slamming it. It's a fantastic movie. I love it. I rewatch it regularly for as long of a movie as it is. My one complaint about that movie is like the very beginning in the cemetery and the very end at the cemetery. I just don't think it's necessary to the film. I think you could largely cut that in. The film would be better for it. But it's amazing movie. I mean, in that first like 20 minutes, half an hour, absolutely like destroys you. And then it like kind of calms down for a while. And then there are other points of action, but it's like, it's an interesting structure to have like the most intense action scene in the movie right at the beginning. And I mean, there is a battle at the end, but it doesn't really compare to the beginning one. Like, there aren't many scenes in film that do. So, yeah. If you haven't seen it, I mean, I suggest it. Strap in for the first half hour. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. But I think the movie definitely pays off everything it's going for. So, yep. Yes, highly recommend.
Yep. So two things happening in the chat right now. First, Bougie saying not a World War II movie, but All Quiet on the Western Front, and he takes on that. I had to read the book in the 8th grade and never finished it. The book is a bit of a drag in the sense that...
honestly, the movie's a bit of a drag, too.
I haven't seen the movie. That the book itself is a bit of a drag, but that's on purpose. Because it's supposed to be... It's supposed to show you the horrors of trench warfare and kind of the longing.
It's not meant to be. It's not a cheery book.
No, none of that. I don't particularly like World War I films. Honestly, I don't. Honestly, I'm not as I know a lot about World War One, definitely not as much as World War Two, but World War One to me is like this weird, like, just dark time in human history. Just all the trench warfare, all those things. Like, we're caught in between this weird technology inflection point where towards the end of that movie they had planes, but the planes were made out of essentially like what this iPad cover is made out of, just canvas, and then they're like hand dropping bombs on people, but they're also just charging horses at each other, but there's also tanks and cannons and machine gun. I don't know, it feels like this weird point in history. So there's that. But the second thing, Bootstraps is talking about the accuracy in Normandy Beach, absolutely, and Tom Hanks are putting his own money into it, yes, and that eventually ends up leading into one of the best TV series ever, Band of Brothers, from both Hanks and Spielberg. Yeah. But BJ had a coworker of mine's father who recently passed away, was like 106 years old. He was at D-Day. Crazy to hear a first-hand account of it. That is flipping insane. Like, I would have loved to have a conversation about that.
Band of Brothers is like up there for television shows, some of the best television of all time.
Yep.
Easily.
Yep.
And easily rewatchable too. All Quiet on the Western Front, in terms to go to the question, I watched it. It's very well made. It's very well acted. It's a beautifully shot film. It's a pretty oppressively dark and a kind of horrible film. Not horrible in terms of quality, but horrible in terms of content. Again, though, that is sort of the point. I don't. It's hard to judge a film like that because you come out of it just kind of feeling tired. Like, it's not a film where you come out, even with Saving Private Ryan, where you come out and you're like, it's a lot. There's a lot of emotion, but I kind of am like, okay, and like I'm sort of like, I'm like, well, that was excellent, like whatever. The end of All Quiet on the Western Front was kind of like the end of after I watched The Revenant with. Leonardo DiCaprio, if anyone has seen that movie, where like at the end of it you're just kind of like, oh, all right, like let me go lay down or something. Like,
I need a sandwich and a nap.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's just a lot, but it's very well done. So I mean, if you're kind of strap yourself in and get ready for it, but it's well acted, beautifully shot. There's some really harrowing moments in it. So yeah, I would say definitely check it out. In terms of World War One movies, World War One is weird because it's such a pointless war. And before we get into a philosophical discussion of how all war is pointless, like, yeah, okay, like World War Two kind of is one of the only examples of the last like century that has like clear sort of good guys and bad guys, and like, this is the good side and this is the bad side, even if like the good side did some bad things and whatever. There's a lot of moral questions there.
Yeah.
But like World War One is a conflict that's just so like, there's no real good and bad. There's no real, like, it's just a lot of people died and it's like for very little, like for like essentially nothing. It wasn't saving the world from like fascism. It wasn't like stopping a genocide. It wasn't like, it just wasn't any of that. It was just a lot of stuff, a lot of dead people for nothing, essentially.
A lot of chemical warfare.
That being said, 1917 is a great World War One movie.
Oh yeah, that's you're not wrong there.
Have you guys already talked about Puss in Boots being in the top 5? You missed it, St. Bear.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said that was my number 5, and then Frostbite.
That was on all of our lists.
Frostbite followed up with welcome to the chat, by the way. What about Chippendales Rescue Rangers? I said that was my number 3, right after Marley and Me, which was my number 4.
How'd you guess my number 1?
Oh, really? Dang it, dude! Sorry, Marley and Me. I like crying.
No. Chippendale. Like Rescue Rangers. You gotta have that. I mean, that is a good one. I grew up on that, so special place in my heart.
BJ also reflecting on his coworker's grandfather. He said a lot of guys didn't make it onto the beach. He said you jumped off the boat with your bag, sucked down to the bottom, you can't see anything, and you're just running straight at the bottom of the ocean. Goodness gracious.
I have heard that about it. Yeah.
I had a history teacher who was in World War II, and he wasn't the one that landed on Normandy, but he was there right after. He was like the second wave, and and our history teacher told us some stories, and I'm like, whew, pretty intense.
Whoa, yes. Need to take a nap after that.
Anyway,
all right, though, it's great having the discussion. We're getting a little long on time though. Yep. So Nav, what's your number 1, man? What you got?
my number one. Okay, this one goes back to. Hang on, let me make sure I have the date right here. 1959. All right, this is a suspense thriller. This one right here, kind of. This movie, I think, really inspired other movies and going forward in the future of like Mission Impossible and stuff. Like, even though there's like technically an old Mission Impossible show, but I'm talking about how like Tom Cruise Mission Impossible, basically, how this was. Yeah,
Right.
not I've seen some of the old shows. It's like, no, it's not that. But also, this was a time where this show was competing with James Bond, because in the 50s, Sean Connery, James Bond, all that stuff too. But this one I think is a lot better than a lot of the early James Bond films. And this is Alfred Hitchcock story. And so, great writer, did some good movies and stuff. But this is North by Northwest.
Dude, good movie.
All right?
Good movie.
It's a really good movie. If you want a classic suspense thriller, it's about a businessman, I think he's a New York advertiser business executive. He gets mistaken for a government agent by a group of foreign spies. And then all chaos ensues and everything else. So he's kind of like pushed to become like, to uncover this plot, stop some spies, all this other stuff. Just a great movie, well written, well acted out, cool stunts in there. I mean, you're in the Alps, the Swiss Alps, going down on skis, being chased by people. There's like jumping out of planes. There's some really cool dodging planes that are trying to shoot you. I mean, it's just like, for the 50s, this is really cool. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted like a suspense thriller that's that it's like James Bond, but I think it was better than the James Bonds that were done in the 50s and in the early 60s, in my opinion. And if you like Mission Impossible, anything like that, definitely watch North by Northwest. Has Cary Grant in it. He's a really good actor.
You and Cary Grant, man.
Who is the female? Yeah, I do. Well, like I said, I had to put Arsenic Old Lace in there just because it was good. But I think the female, who was it? Eva Marie Saint. She was a good actress as well. Those are the main two, Cary Grant and Eva Marie Saint. Those are just classic people. But go and watch that if you want a suspense thriller that's well written, has a lot of action in it, has like a little bit of mystery to figure out. Go watch it, North by Northwest. It inspired a lot of movies that came after it on how to do stuff like this. It was just one of the, I think, the leading forefronts into suspense thrillers. There you go, my number one.
Okay. Very cool. I've never seen any film by Hitchcock.
Really?
So,
Birds?
I might have seen parts
Birds.
of Birds. I don't think I might have watched. I've never seen Psycho, North by Northwest, Rear Window, Vertigo.
No.
I've never seen any of them. Those. I think I might have actually seen Birds, or at least parts of it.
This is a good one to start with.
But
this is a good one to start with.
Yeah, that's a cool pick. Okay, well, for me, my number one then.
There's some epic scenes
in Mount Rushmore.
Oh, sorry. I was saying there's some scenes at Mount Rushmore. They actually do some filming on Mount Rushmore, which is really cool. So
that is neat.
In this movie. Anyway, go ahead.
So my number one is a very different genre than anyone's that we've talked about, and that is Unforgiven.
Oh, I was going to put that on my list, dude.
This is Western, 1992 or 93, 92, sure. I believe. Won Best Picture. This is kind of the last Western made by Clint Eastwood. Morgan Freeman, Gene Hackman. Amazing cast, incredible movie. To me, it's sort of the epitome of the Western genre. And it's somewhat of a deconstruction of the Western genre and sort of the romanticism of the Western, and is like trying to depict like the West in more of a realistic light and sort of the grittiness of it. I think it's a fantastic film, and it's sort of like Gene Hackman. To me, it's one of the best villain performances ever, and like the main character, Clint Eastwood, some of his best work as a like anti-hero, because he's not a heroic character, the main guy in it. If you have even like a passing interest in Westerns, or even if you're not sure, I highly recommend checking out Unforgiven.
Yep.
It's a beautifully shot movie, so well acted, so different from what you might think of as the Western genre. And yeah, to me, it's the best Western of all time, and there's nothing else that's really close other than
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or something. Yeah, that would be the only other one that's like in the same ballpark for me.
Nav chiming in the chat saying North by Northwest has a Metascore of 98. Thanks, Nav. Appreciate you saying that.
Pat. That's patting himself on the back there.
And then he got a handshake from somebody talking about it.
That's the meme of like Obama giving himself a medal for something.
I love it. Yeah, Unforgiven's great. Unforgiven was actually one of the.
Sorry, my brother walked in.
That's okay. He shook your hand on screen too.
He wants to be on the show.
Hey, next time we can guest him in. As long as he can bring a top 5 TV shows to watch, he can come in.
Type 5 TV show games. He'll bring it.
There it is. Top 5 game shows. No, Unforgiven was like one of the spaghetti westerns that really sort of like crushed it. And I don't know. It's a movie you can still go back and watch and like feel really good about the black hat versus the white hat at the end of it. It's a great movie.
Sorry, Unforgiven's not a spaghetti western.
Hold on, Twitch is banning us again. All right, we're back. Twitch was... No, I was talking about Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is awesome. Great showdown. I've tried to watch Once Upon a Time in the West, which is like another epic western from back in the day, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly to me is just better in every way. I couldn't get into Once Upon a Time in the West. Anyway, that's our list. I know we're late here on time, so we got to be getting out of here. But was there anything from the community list anyone wanted to?
Bougie jumped in. Bougie said that number 1 is The Happening, hands down, no debate. I honestly have never seen The Happening. I know it's like an M. Night Shyamalan movie, Shyamalama Ding Dong. I've never seen it. I've heard really good things about it, and I've also I just Googled it real quick, and I saw that it also had like 5 out of 10 on IMDb. So I don't know what to think right now.
You have heard good things about it?
Yeah.
I've never heard any good things about The Happening. No.
Yeah.
That's the weird one with Mark Wahlberg where the trees kill people.
Okay, so Bougie's saying 100% joke. Yeah, I had heard it was like a thriller.
Yeah.
I just want to mention...
Well, maybe it is. I don't know. How that guy is even still making movies at this point, I don't know.
Well, it's the same movie over and over and over.
Yeah, just
on the community list, I just want to highlight a few movies real quick before we head out.
Yeah.
The Princess Bride, great one.
Yep.
Yes. Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Yes. Okay. And then The Mummy. All right, that is just a classic. Brendan Fraser, you gotta love.
The Mummy is my thing.
I just want to highlight those 3.
Love the Mummy. Brendan Fraser.
The Mummy is
fantastic. The Princess Bride, I've never been able to get into. I know people absolutely go nuts for it and love it and adore it and whatever. I just it's fine. There are parts I don't mind. Maybe it's just the humor doesn't work for me. I don't know. I can't do the Princess Bride.
It's 2 different movies stapled together, in my opinion.
It's just weird. But I like the main actor, and so.
What was the other one? Princess Bride, The Mummy, and what?
Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
Oh, Men in Tights, right?
Tight.
The Mummy is fantastic. Those were like such great action adventure, just like fun movies to watch, man.
Yep. And Brendan Fraser finally winning his award. Good on you, Brendan. You did it, man. Lifetime achievement, but also you did great.
I hope he wins an Oscar for The Whale.
He might, honestly. They're getting
I'd
a lot
to
of
see that.
Lot of buzz. Fantastic. I'm gonna pick out one on here that nobody has talked about that I think we should be we should be talking about a little bit more, and that is The Hunt for Red October.
Great movie.
Just such a solid movie. Okay, that's the only one I'm gonna pick out there.
Sure. A couple that I would highlight. One was Terminator 1. I think that movie tends to get kind of overshadowed, and somewhat rightly so, by Terminator 2. But the first Terminator movie as like a horror film, because the first one's really a horror movie. It's not an action movie.
Right. I
think is very well done for what it is. Terminator 2 kicks it up, and people love it as one of the best action movies ever. But I think it's I think the first one is really excellent for what it's going for. And then the one I would highlight from recent years is Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, dude.
Which is an excellent kind of, I guess, dark black comedy. It's really well done. really funny at times, very serious and kind of thought-provoking at others. Excellent film, just came out in the last couple of years. So.
Didn't it win a bunch of awards too?
It did. I believe it did.
Yeah.
Bougie says my number one is Remember the Titans. It's been a really long time since I've seen that. I mean, Denzel's great. I'll watch Denzel in basically anything. I need to go back and revisit that one, but it's a good choice. The Last Airbender, let's not talk about that ever. But okay, we're long on time here. But thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for bearing with our technical difficulties. Thank you for chatting and contributing. And if you haven't, jump over to the Discord, get into the Roundtable discussion. We'll be posting our own list as well as the community list there for things you can go and check out if you're ever looking for something to watch. And for me, for Nav, for Chino, I hope you all have a good evening and a great weekend. All right. See you guys.
Later,
Ta-ta.